Okay, thanks. Now we're going to go to the NL, and I'm going to start in the East. I have the Braves winning the East, not because I'm a Braves fan, but because of the best team in the division. If they get the production they should get out of certain players, namely I'm speaking of Billy Wagner. If Bobby Cox doesn't try to use him 4 or 5 days in a row, his arm doesn't fall off, I think he can save a lot of games. Saito I'm not too crazy about, but I love Jason Hayward to come in this year and make a big contribution. We saw what Jeff Francoeur did when he came up, went nuts. I also think Brian McCann's in for an unusually big year this year. You know, he's an all-star every year, but I think he's going to be much better this year. Spring training he's hit 500. No one hits 500 no matter when. So I think he could hit 30 to 35 homers this year, take a little jump there. I think he could hit 340, 350. Like Chipper to bounce back. When Billy Wagner does get hurt, you know, that's how I'm saying when, not if. Craig Kimbrell is going to come up, and he's going to close games for the Braves. If not, it'll be Chris Medlin. I don't think we'll really lose much there. So I'm going to go with the Braves in the East, and we're going to go to the Central now.
Man, I've got a lot to say to you about that. As far as the NL Central goes, my perennial World Series dark horse is always the Cardinals. The last few years, you've got Wainwright and Carpenter at the front of that staff, who each won 19 games last year, if I'm not mistaken. They each qualified for the top 5 in the ERA title every year, and they're each going to strike out a lot of hitters. I mean, you've got the top 2 hitters in the NL on that team, in Pujols and Holiday, or Holiday is probably one of the top 10 hitters in that league. But with those 2 players, you got Ryan Ludwig in that lineup, who's decent. He sort of had a mediocre year after his breakout season a few years ago. Hopefully he can bounce back. You've got a lot of players on that team who can just flat out play, and you've got a manager who has been there and has done it. So as far as everyone else in the NL Central, you've got the Cubs, who I think are just going to continue to plummet as far as their performance goes. They're getting older. They are continually, at least last year, they lost a bunch of games. I don't see them doing well this season. The Astros are getting older. Who else is in that division?
Brewers.
The Brewers.
Pirates. You can't forget about the Pirates.
Right, we're not going to talk about the Pirates. The Brewers they've lost Ben Sheets, even though he's always injured. He was always the front line of that staff. They've got no pitching, despite the fact that they've got Prince Fielder and Ryan Braun. That's about it. I see the Cardinals running away and hiding with this division.
In the NL West, you have the Rockies, and they have a very good offensive lineup, anchored by Todd Helton, who hit 325 with 15 home runs last year, and he drove in 86 runs. You have Troy Tulowitzki, Brad Hopp, and Clint Barmas hitting around him. I think that's a deadly offensive lineup. The Giants, they have solid pitching. They have Tim Lincecum and Matt Cain, 2 14, 15-game winners, both with ERAs under 3. And then you have the Dodgers, another great offensive lineup with Ethier, Loney, Casey Blake is a rock at third base, Matt Kemp, and Manny Ramirez. You know, he's up and down, and when he's on steroids, I guess you could say he's good. But the problem with the Dodgers is that they didn't make a lot of offseason moves, but the good thing about that is neither did anybody else really in the NL West. Everybody's waiting to see what San Diego's going to do with Adrian Gonzalez. But I think that when it comes down to it, it'll be between the Rockies and Dodgers, and the Dodgers are just going to eke out ahead of them and win that division.
We're going to go to the NL wildcard now, and we're going to start with Alex on that.
Brian McCann is not going to hit 350 or hit 35 home runs. He won't accomplish either one of those feats. I think the Braves are going to win the NL wild card. I think the Phillies will be the NL East winner because the Phillies are a much more talented hitting team and have about the same pitching talent and probably a better bullpen.
That's interesting, the pitching talent, because Joe Blanton's on the DL, Jamie Moore's 92 years old, Cole Hamels, who knows what you're going to get with him. The Phillies have one pitcher in my mind, that's Roy Halladay. The Braves have Tommy Hanson, who was pretty damn good last year.
Where did that one pitcher get them last season?
What? Cliff Lee?
Having one pitcher get them last season. Where did it get them?
It got them to the World Series.
Got them to the World Series.
But they need more than that.
Right.
Okay.
And now they have a better one.
The Braves have Tommy Hanson. Tim Hudson's looked amazing so far. Jair Jurgens was in the top 5 in the ERA last year.
Hudson's 50.
He's not bad. Then you have Kenshin Kawakami. He's not very good, but he's our 5th starter. But that's at least 4 solid pitchers.
You need to be happy that
compared
I
to
gave you
one.
the wild card and just enjoy it.
I think whoever doesn't win the AL East is going to win the wild card, and I think that it may come down to those 2 teams. Definitely built a lot around their farm system, the star of that being Jason Hayward. They've made the trades, they've improved their pitching. I think they're going to give the Phillies a real contest, and whoever doesn't come out on top is going to get the wild card.
No arguments with that. I do agree that both wild cards are going to come from the East, as there are no contenders in the Central for the wild card, and there's likely only one contender in the West for a wild card.
Watch out for those Pirates, though. You never know.